Hey guys, welcome to Suitcase Divas Podcast. This is episode 30. My name is Denise Diobaldi with Redbirds Travel.
And I'm Cheryl Garcia with ABC The Adventures.
Yeah, and so this episode is about safety, just safe travel safety while we're out and about. We just did a road trip. There are a couple scenarios that we were just like, let's go there, let's talk about this because it's all good information, and I'm not afraid to be that chick that you're like, damn girl, you need to travel more safely. Okay, so first we're going to go over road trip car safety, right?
Yeah,
We did
because
travel.
we did just come back from our road trip, and it was funny. The idea for this episode came from this trip when we talked. We had a couple parts where we're like, oh, we should have done a little bit better, or we even just discussed in general things that could happen. It's just how we are. We get on a topic and we go down that rabbit hole, and we ended up with a whole list of travel safety things.
Well, we were just this would be good for people to know. Like, we're just trying to do you a solid so that you can either learn something new or just learn from our mistakes or just learn from what we've found, what we've
Right.
gleaned on travel safety.
Right. So we're going to talk about road trip / car safety.
Yeah.
And some of these are obvious, but it doesn't hurt for us to remind ourselves and each other.
A good refresher. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think we get comfortable if we are seasoned travelers or we're traveling to the same destinations over and over again. We tend to get comfortable and lax in our security and our social awareness of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So road tripping, obviously you want to know your route.
Yeah.
I think with GPS and all of that, sometimes I know I have done this where I don't look at the directions of where I'm going. I'm expecting my GPS to tell me. So if anything happens, I'm screwed because I haven't looked at the map. I haven't looked at the directions.
Well, and when we're together, I try to be a good co-pilot. I really do. Like, if I'm like, you're supposed to turn here, or we were going to take 85, but now it has us on track to take 49. Are you okay with that? Because that's what happened. You were planning to take 85, but we ended up taking back roads, and it was fine. It was only, we looked at it and it was like a 2 or 3 minute difference. I'm like, let's take the back roads. No worries.
But I'll also say, when we had the phone outage, what was that, a month or two ago now, where so many of the cell phones went out, I watched a lot of videos of people who were traveling. I will never forget the one. It was obviously on TikTok. The girl was traveling home late at night.
It was
from she was a good bit, like 2 hours from her home, and it was really late and the service had gone out and she didn't know what was going on. She had to pull into a fast food place and talk through the window, and she was in tears. She's like, I don't know how to get home from here. My phone's not working. And
I would be crying too.
It made me think, because I used to road trip all the time with just the big old map book and my MapQuest printed with the map book as backup. And now we rely heavily. So know your route is basically.
We were talking about that. My son was like, how did you guys ever get from point A to point B without the GPS? And I'm like, we used like landmarks. You go down for a few miles, you'll see this big red farmhouse on the right. Then right 2 streets after that, you make a left. Like, it was all landmarks.
And I still do that. I rarely know the names of the streets, especially in our area. I'm always saying, go down. What's it by? Is it by the mall? Is it by the Gibson Mill? Like, I want something that it's by. But in addition to knowing your route, make sure you let someone else know your route, so that if that were to happen, you were to break down or you haven't been heard from for a bit, they know kind of the path you were taking. So with our amazing phone devices now, we can share our locations. When you're traveling, it's a good idea to share your location with someone so they can keep track of you. Not that they need to be, but I know we do that in our family. We always share our locations so that we always can find if we need to. You want to have your charged devices.
Yep. I feel lost without my charger. I feel lost without my phone. But the one weekend we went somewhere recently, and I forgot the wall charger, like the brick to my charger. Luckily, they have USB plugs in the hotels now. It was our Orlando trip. I left my I left my brick at home, and I'm like, how am I going to charge my phone? So,
But now, and I think you have the different core. No, you don't have the different. We have the same as me.
I have the regular one,
Right.
but you definitely want to make sure you have your charger because things can go
Yeah.
really bad if you don't have your charger.
And make sure you have a backup plan if your devices do die. How are you going to get in touch? There's no payphones anymore. Do you know someone's phone number, or is it just in your contacts and you know how to push that
Because
button?
you don't memorize any of that shit anymore.
Not like you
Like
used to.
I don't
No,
even know my kids' numbers by heart. How lame
I
am I? Like
know.
I'm not getting a Mom of the Year award. But I don't think many people were if you get and basing it on how many name numbers you can rattle off. I still know my childhood phone number
Same,
because
me
it's
too.
burned in your brain.
Yeah,
But yeah, nowadays you're just like, oh shit, let me look that up for you. So
right. So talking about cars and stuff, let's talk about the actual car itself. Obviously make sure you have your jack, your jumper cables, your flares, your car go
your go
bag
bag. I
on
knew
your
you're
car.
going there.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I'll tell you this, and this is something that happened to me recently, um, and this is something I did not know. If you don't know this, go check your car when this episode's over. The newer, I guess these are on newer cars.
The lug nut.
The lug nuts on your tires have a
Mm-hmm.
lock. So it was actually a month ago when I was in Raleigh. I got a flat tire. I was like, okay, I called the AAA people, or not AAA. I called our roadside service, and they said they were like an hour and a half out. I was like, okay, well, let's just change this ourselves because I can do it. I go in, my jack's not in the car because I don't
Can't
have,
believe this happened to you, Cheryl.
I
You're the most
know.
prepared person I know.
Well, and come to find out, my husband had taken the jack out of the car probably a year and a half ago or so to jack up the lawnmower, change the tires on the lawnmower or something to do with the lawnmower. Because when I got home, I found the jack with all the lawn stuff. So make sure you've got your jack and stuff. But here was the thing: when I got, excuse me, when roadside service came out, super nice guy. He's like, okay, but where's your key? I thought he meant the key to my car. I was like, it's unlocked. And he's like, no, the key to your tire.
I
I'm like,
have those too.
wait, my
Yep.
tire has a key. He
I
said
keep
it's
it in my glove box.
well, he said it's either usually with your jack, which I didn't have my jack, or it's in your glove box. It was with neither. So I had a very difficult time. I couldn't get my tire fixed that day. I
No, you
actually had to
can't.
drive it home from Raleigh I had to pump it up, stop every bit, get it pumped, blah 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 until if this is important, it made me think if you are renting a car, you need to
Check that.
check the
Yeah.
tires to make sure if they have that lock. There's nothing wrong with the lock. If they have
Yeah.
it, make sure the key to that tire is in there because if you do have roadside assistance, they can't help you. I even took it to like Pet Boys and they didn't have a key for
Most
it.
places they won't be able to help you if you don't have
So I
yours.
will tell you, I when I did get my tire fixed, I had them remove that key lug
You
nut,
can
whatever.
do
I was
that.
like, I don't want that. But so make sure you've done your, due diligence on your car and the things that you have in there if you need.
Yeah, it is important to know that for sure. For sure.
So when you get to your location or you're leaving your location or whatever, I don't know how many of you think about it, but I do of where you're parking. Obviously, we look at parking in
Well lit.
public areas.
Hmm.
But one thing I've taught my girls is you don't park beside a van
I've heard this.
of the bigger vans, not the minivans.
Like
Even
the big
those,
vans
I
that they
don't.
can just body snatch you.
Right. So we called them Chester vans, like the white. You know what vans we're talking about. So don't park near the vans. The other thing that pops up is this has been going on for a while. Don't remove if you have something tucked in your windshield under your windshield wipers, don't remove that in the parking lot. You see something on your door handle, this I've read about quite a bit. Don't remove it by touching it with anything on your skin because sometimes they could have put something poisonous on there to drug you.
Or I've also heard the disposable water bottle stuck in your wheel and you go to try to remove it and you're distracted and they can grab you from behind. Just friggin'
Anything
over the water bottle. It's not a big
Exactly.
deal. It's not going to
Anything that
prevent
can
you from going
distract
anywhere.
you, you
Yeah.
don't want to to address while you're in that location.
Correct.
You want to get in and remove yourself from that location. Check your surroundings before you exit the car. When you get back in the car, make sure you lock it right away. I'm one of those
And leave right away. Like
I
I
don't
get on my
leave.
phone and yeah, but you should. Like
I
that's what
don't think you
you
should. See, I disagree. I think I don't want to rush out of there. If I need to look at my next
well, if
destination
you
or
need to
answer my
prepare where you're
phone,
going, but I wouldn't just be lounging around. Especially, I guess it depends on the situation. If it's daylight, but if it's dark and you're like in a parking area that's a
just
little
be
sus,
cautious and
yeah.
don't rush me out of my parking space. Sometimes, and I think some of us parents, we take that, especially, I don't know, us moms or whatever, we take those few extra minutes in the car because it's quiet. I can check my phone. I can answer. I remember those are peaceful. I'm not rushing to the next spot. If I'm out for the day and I want to
I
sit
think it
my
would depend
husband
on my
stuff,
situation. If it's a shady spot, then I'm like looking to get on my way to a less shady
yeah,
spot.
feel the vibes. I totally
Right.
get that.
And
But
trust your intuition too, because that
absolutely.
is a real thing, guys. Like I've been in places where I'm just like, I feel a bad vibe. I need to get out of here, you know? Like trust your intuition always, always, always.
Right. So let's say now we've arrived at our destination. We're at our hotel. So let's talk about hotel safety.
Yeah. So we did have a little situation and it really wasn't my fault, but I wasn't really privy to the fact that you're the one who pointed out, Denise, did you just see what happened there? So we got there, it's like 9 o'clock. We've done our training all day. We're ready for a little glass of wine, wind down, check in our room, and go to grab a couple drinks out of the little
Convenience
grocery
store thing
area.
that had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
convenience store. And then we were going to go sit out by the pool for a little bit. And so as we grabbed I think our Truly or whatever, I had some wine, and the lady at the front desk was like, I got you. What's your room number? And I just said my room number. And the
Well,
lobby wasn't busy. No, she said, what's your room
right.
number?
But the reason why she asked, because she was actually helping, there were people at the desk. We were far away from it.
But she
She
was trying to ring us up
from a distance. So we were
to put
across
it on our
from her
room.
and she hollered to us, hey, what's your room number?
And
And
I was
we,
like,
yeah,
2411, like I just said it without even, and then she's like, what's your last name? And I'm like, Diobaldi. So essentially, I've given my last name to the room and I've given my room number so that anybody within an earshot around us could have been like, oh, yeah, I want to put a pizza on Diobaldi room
or I see two
2411.
ladies
Or,
traveling by
or right.
themselves. Let me check out. I looked at her and she's like, why are you looking at me?
I was like, what's up? And she's like, that doesn't seem very safe what you just did. I was like, she asked me for my number. And I'm like, but now that we're reflecting on this, it was not safe for me to give that information. But it also wasn't safe for the hotel lady
Correct.
either.
She should
So
have known better because the rule, most hotels, they will not say your room number when you're checking in. They give you your key and it has it on there. And if ladies or anybody traveling solo, if they say your room number out loud, request a room change. They should not be saying your room number at all when you're in that hotel
well, I
lobby.
didn't want to request a room change because we got upgraded.
Well, at
But
that
I
point,
see
it
what you're
was
saying.
later.
Yes, I
Yeah, they
see.
didn't say that. The guy that checked us in did not say our room. He flipped it to
He
you.
didn't. He
Correct.
did flip me the card. So yes, that was a lesson learned, and I didn't really even think about it. But I in hindsight's 2020, I know that I would definitely not. I would have gone up to her and or had another conversation about that.
Right.
That was a lesson learned for sure.
In that
Um,
instance, looking back, because I was trying to think of how would we have one, we don't want to come off as rude because she is trying to move us. So looking back, I think, and if this happens again, I'd say, how about I write it down for you? Like, I think that's how I would handle it in the future because
right.
she was trying
Agreed.
to do us a favor, but it put us in a spot and
Compromise situation.
right,
If and luckily there were not a lot of people in the lobby
right.
or even the surrounding area, but there can be sometimes when you check in, there's a long line of people and
Well,
it
and
just
there's a
opens
restaurant
yourself
and a
up
bar
for,
there. So they're
yeah,
not always just guests that are in a hotel. You don't know. So that's just one of the things we talked about. That incident actually led us down the path to this episode. We started talking about what else can we,
Well, so then we got in the elevator, and then I pushed our floor button, and some guy got in, and I'm like, "What floor do you need?" And I pushed his button. But there are situations, and you called me out on this on the MSC cruise. We had the drink package, not gonna lie, by the end of the night or 2 or 3 in the morning, you're all getting on an elevator, going up, whatever. And there was a guy that was a little sus in there, and I just pushed our floor button, and you looked at me like I should know better. And I'm just like, what's the problem? And then luckily he got off on a floor lower than ours. But you're like, Denise, you never want to you make whoever, or you want to push your button last or whatever. If you're in an elevator with it might seem like a compromise situation, or you're getting a bad vibe, you either push your button, and then if they have one above you, then you pick another one above them so that they're getting off first. You don't want to show them your floor that you're getting off, and then they can follow you. Correct? Is essentially what we're
Right.
doing here.
So yeah, just be
I got you.
careful. Yeah. Because what can happen is, especially when you're traveling solo, you don't want to be, and it's you and a guy. And again, it doesn't even have to feel uncomfortable.
It's just safety first,
It is
right?
safety.
This is why I'm not allowed to travel solo, Cheryl.
It's just safety. I usually ask them, I will always stand by the buttons too, so I can push it. I'll ask them what's their button. I'll push theirs, and then I'll push the one above it or below it, depending
That's smart.
on where they're going.
I like that. That's smart.
And then if you're uncomfortable and you've already pushed your button and someone gets on a different floor and you don't feel comfortable getting off, just say, "Oh, pick up your phone," because you're probably carrying, like, "Oh, my friend, shoot," like mumble to yourself, "Man, they're back at the lobby." Don't get off. Let them get off on their floor, and then you go to a different spot.
Yeah,
Mumble
I
to
think
yourself, you don't know, even though that button is pushed, you do not have to get off. Stay in that elevator and go somewhere else.
right. And then speaking of elevator, also typically there's a stairwell. Definitely take I think of parking decks. This is where I think of this. Like if at a mall or if you're at a place, I would definitely say use the elevator versus taking the stairwell, because a lot of shit can go down in a stairwell. They don't all they have cameras or anything like that. So you just need to be really, really careful in a stairwell versus I would always try to take the elevator. Sometimes I take the stairs just for exercise. I'm thinking, "Ooh, I'm getting my cardio in." And I was like, "No,
Right.
that's the wrong answer.
If you're
That's
with a
the wrong
group,
answer."
it's okay. I think you're okay taking, use your best judgment, but solo, you want to avoid stairwells because, like Denise said, they're very rarely monitored.
Right.
Not used a lot. So if something were to, even if you were just to fall, they're not used a lot. You could be sitting there for quite a bit before someone else comes around. So the stairs aren't always your best option. Go do your cardio in the gym. That's what it's for.
I got you. I got you. Um, so then that kind of brings us to just regular destination safety, right? You should always be aware of your surroundings. You shouldn't walk around. I know I see everybody with like Beats or their AirPods in.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to be really, really diligent that you know what's around you. Because if you've got the music blasting and you're in an area that you don't really know where you're at, anybody could come at you from behind. I mean, you just got to be careful and just have to be watchful, you know?
Well, yeah, and even in your hometown area, I again saw this on TikTok. This is a thing that was going. This particular one happened in NYC. This lady, this is where she lives. She was just walking around her area. She had her phone. She was doing what we all do, glancing down at her phone while we're walking, and a guy came up, just punched her in the face, and she hit the ground. By the time she woke up, he was gone. Like she ended up
Jesus.
passing out. Then I was reading the comments. This was a thing. It's one of those trends. It's kind of like a couple years ago they would go around and slap people, those teenagers. Now, this wasn't a teenager. This was a adult male that hit her.
An asshole is what I'd call him.
So you have to be careful of things like that.
Yeah.
When you are, I do wear my headphones, either if I'm talking on the phone or if I'm out just wanting to
I do not.
but I always have one off. I'll have one in and then one just hanging. Or if I'm wearing the wireless, I'll just have one on, one off. I think it's okay to listen to your music, but you have to split your brain and multitask right there. You can't be 100% into your device while you're
Yeah.
walking around.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
It's a good
Yeah.
idea when you're visiting new areas to find out what crime slash trends are going on, because like this particular one had been happening a lot in NYC where they were walking around punching, slapping people. So if you're traveling somewhere, go on social media and just see what you can find
Well,
about what's going on so
and they
you're
do say
aware.
to blend in. They say, don't look so touristy. Like, and then remember the Uber guy that was like, we were telling him like how we were saying, excuse me, as we're going through New York and bumping into people and like, excuse me, excuse me. He's like, don't do that. You got to try to fit in or they're going to see
Right.
that you're a tourist and then you're a target. If you
Hmm.
look like a tourist, you're a target. That is a fact. Um, so so we had a great time. We're in Raleigh. We're checking out that new bar and we get our drinks. The guy's super nice. We explained that we have a travel podcast and he's like, "Well, we've got an upstairs bar and a patio. Do you guys want to go check it out?" Like he's going to give us personal tour. I was like, "Awesome. Fabulous. That sounds great." My I just gotten my beer. I had taken off my jacket, so I just grabbed my purse and I was like, "We're only going to be a couple seconds." And I walk up. I walk up the stairs. We take the little tour. We're back in 5 minutes, and Cheryl's like, "Denise, we left our drinks. You encouraged me to leave my drink, but we left our drinks on the table unattended. Anybody could have roofied that shit. Anybody could have done
It
anything."
was one of those like,
You were probably looking at me again like, "Listen, bitch, we gotta work on this."
I and again, I
Most
was hesitant.
haphazard traveler.
I was kind of like, are you really saying we leave our drinks right here? And you
I
just
don't know what I was thinking.
well, it was in during the day. It was not a very
It was not
busy.
busy, and I thought, we'll be right back. And my hands were already full because I had my purse and I had my phone, and we were going to be taking pictures for
Right.
social media posts. I just was so excited that he was willing to give us like the upstairs tour that I think I lost my shit, apparently. I don't
But
know.
during while we were talking about this, you found we were talking about ways to like protect ourselves and stuff, and you found a
So
really
then,
cool.
yeah, that got me thinking, listen, Denise, you need some help, bitch. So, drink covers. So they've tried a bunch of things. They've tried like nail polish that can show what is it called?
GHB.
Whatever. Yes, but that didn't cover the roofies. So, um, there's drink covers. This was actually from a company. It was a pitch on Shark Tank, and they bought it, and it's taken off, and it's doing really well. We can put the Amazon link in our notes, and it's called Nightcap. And so it comes with an actual cover for your drink and a hole for your straw, and it comes with a scrunchie too. And the actual cover you can wear in a scrunchie or just throw it in your bag or wear it on your wrist. And the straw and the drink cover and everything is in that one little scrunchie, and you can actually cover your drink so that nobody can sprinkle anything or drop anything into it. And I think it's a really great idea. Above all the other ones, they do have some koozies where if you splash a few drops, you can see because our friends, we're not going to say any names, but it can happen anywhere. It just happened to some friends of ours in Charlotte, North Carolina, few like 6 months ago ish, but their drinks got roofied. Like there's two girls going out for a night out, hanging out, and then they started feeling really fucked up and they decided like we need to go. Something's gone on here. We need to go. They don't even remember. I don't recall exactly how they got back home, but on the Ring doorbell, you can obviously tell that they're not themselves. They're like stumbling, not okay. So it can happen anywhere. And I just
Mhm.
think you just really, that was a wake up call for me. Like, I need to be more mindful of my surroundings. I think intrinsically, I think people are good and kind. And that's bad on me too. That would make me a naive solo traveler. And you definitely have a lot more like, Denise, what the hell are you doing? You have
But I
more
think
travel knowledge.
even like you get comfortable because we had an incident where I we were in an Uber and he had little airplane shot glasses or shot bottles, like
Airplane bottles.
airplane bottles of
They
liquor.
were sealed. They were sealed, but
They could not have. I mean,
well, we weren't really paying attention,
we
and we'd
weren't,
already been
and this
drinking
was
that
something
night.
I would never have done
Right.
had I not been with my group of girls. Had I, been thinking better, I was comfortable. I was lax in my own security. I literally took a couple shot bottles from this guy who was very nice. I'm not saying he
He was
did,
a
but
nice Uber
it could have
driver.
been it could have been worse. And I'm just saying, okay, let's not do that. So again, be cautious accepting drinks from strangers, and if you haven't seen them be made or they don't crack open or whatever, it's
Now,
just
I will say I
another
was the
thing.
most responsible one that night. I did not take any shots. I did not, and I took care of everybody that was completely wasted. But I'm usually the shit show of the group, and I'm the most trusting one of the group. I was the mama that night, so we all come through when each other needs each other's help, but
Right.
not completely naive and innocent. Sometimes I am the one in charge.
Right.
I just made some bad choices this last trip, and we kind of pointed them out, and we're like, this is a good opportunity. I'm not afraid to say that I learn from my mistakes, and I'm definitely still working on my masterpiece. I'm always a work in progress, but travel safety tips are important. So if you have fallen victim to any of these, then or you hear our stories and you're like, yeah, now that you say that, I might have done the same thing. It's just good to know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, the other thing I will say is these Apple AirTags are amazing. So I would consider putting them. Oh, it works both ways. So you got to be careful with the Apple AirTags. I would always recommend putting them like when you're traveling either via suitcase. We just saw that our friend posted something on a cruise where their family member had taken an excursion and they had like a stroke or that something bad happened to them on the excursion and the cruise ship left. They just left them on another, I guess in Africa or something. They were on a cruise. And the only way the family member was able to track their family member back is because the air tag was in their suitcase. And that's how they tracked their family back from another country. Um, but you also need to be careful with people slipping an air tag into your purse or into your jacket to try to track you. So it kind of like almost a double-edged sword with the Apple AirTags. You just really need to just be so careful. I think that there's a lot of good in the AirTags too, because a lot of people have lost their luggage and was able to track it down at a specific airport that it had been diverted to. So the AirTags, I think, are useful. What are your thoughts on the AirTags, Cheryl?
I definitely think they're useful, and I know a lot of people are using them more with younger kids because they can put
Yeah.
them in their shoes, they can attach them to something that's on a part of their body that if they were the kids aren't going to take it off, or let's say kidnappers not going to take it off, they're not going to take their shoes off. So they have devices for that. I think it's good to put it
I
like
have
in
one
your
on Riley's
purse,
collar. Nobody's gonna steal
on
my
your
dog.
pets. Exactly. I do know, and I have heard stories of people finding out that they've got some form of air tag either on their car or in their purse, slipped in their coat pocket. I do think there's a way to ping it if
Oh, you
someone's
absolutely
near
can.
you.
Yeah.
So you just have to look it up and be aware. I had actually forgotten about that story that was an issue until you had mentioned that. I don't have any air tags. I just this is where I'm
They're about
like,
$30 a piece. They are about
yeah.
$30 a piece. But I
I
think
just my luggage, I pray it's someone once told me it's like Russian roulette. You put it in there and you hope it shows up at the other. I guess that's not a good
no, I
comparison.
I have air tags in all of my luggage for sure.
I
Yeah.
did hear you. I remember your story where you actually threw away a suitcase and
I'm
forgot
sad
to
about that.
air
I was
tag
like,
it
oh.
and
Yeah,
found like
because when I went out to Vegas, my suitcase essentially it was done. Like it decided this is my last trip. And so when I got back from Vegas, I was like, "Oh, I'm just throwing it away. It's not salvageable. I'm not even going to donate it because I wouldn't donate something that's like it's the handle was all janky, whatever. And so I just put it outside in the trash. And then a few weeks later, Nick pinged it and he's like, why is your suitcase at the at the landfill? It pinged at the landfill. I'm like, shit, I forgot to take my Apple AirTag out of my suitcase that I threw away. So, I mean, I was out $30, but
at
it
least you know it
happens.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it's still there. And you can mark them lost, which is what we did because if somebody had found it there, and then they could reuse it as their own. But if you mark it as lost, then it is a lost cause, you know.
Yeah.
But we didn't want anybody on our air tag either because we have
Right.
a like a whole family of air tags. So I would say that overall on this trip, it made me definitely realize that I've got a lot of work to do still, and I don't think maybe I should probably be a solo traveler yet because I'm just too I just always believe in the best. I guess I'm a bit naive and thinking that everybody's just going to be kind and generous and happy go lucky, and I'm not going to be like human trafficked or something. But the
Oh,
other
but
thing I will say
go ahead. No,
is
'cause I
when
think you're
I
gonna
am
say the same
traveling with my
thing.
family or my
Hmm.
kids, you know what I'm saying? If
Yes.
I'm traveling with my family or my kids, then I'm in my mama mode, you know? So
Right.
then I'm looking out for everybody. I'm making sure we have everything we need. I'm making sure that we've got everything. But when I'm traveling as an adult or a girls trip or something like that, I'm a little more relaxed. I'm a little more like,
Right.
Cheryl's gonna hook me up. Cheryl take the wheel. I'll just come along for the ride. But I realized I need to be more mindful of the things that went awry on this trip. And so just use me as an example. and and I mean, I think that's good. It's a learning opportunity. So even though things could have nothing went wrong, luckily.
Right.
There was no charges on my room. There was nothing that went awry, but it's just good to know and good to be mindful of your surroundings. I will say that.
Absolutely.
Um, what was your takeaway? Like, did anything that happened this weekend or these safety tips? Is there anything that stands out or your takeaway on the whole travel safety?
I love the conversation and bringing it up. And when we were talking about it, because I was just getting ready to say what you said, when we are traveling with our kids, we are
Yeah,
completely different and more observant and more on it. And I think when we are traveling either solo or with a group of other adults,
yeah,
kind of a little more lax, and we're kind of like passing the bar there for everybody to take some of that weight of keeping us all together. So this is why I tell my kids, make sure you know who you're going out with, because you want to make sure you've got a mama in the group, someone who's bringing the band-aid, someone who's got the aspirin. Like as a whole, you make one great diligent person who's watching out. That's what you want your group to actually be.
for
So
sure. And
we
we
can
did that in
let her.
Orlando. We for
Yeah.
sure did that in Orlando. We were a group team. We stayed together in our groups. Nobody ever wandered off because Orlando was brand
No,
new
we
for
can't
me.
say that because we did lose somebody.
Oh, well, except for that one person.
And let's not say that because
That's a
we did
different
go
story for
back.
a different day.
Right. Yeah. I might even cut that part out because that was that was not good.
Not
Um,
right into us, Cheryl.
right. But it was, yeah, I don't want to say that because that anyway, just be diligent. What I took from the whole thing and I love about this episode is there are things that people may not think about, or you just need a refresher. You should just have
Yeah.
a refresher on travel safety.
We're just here for to help out with like helping you going forward. Or if you've been in that situation where like it happened, then you're like, okay, yeah, I totally agree. I can work on that. I can be a safer traveler going forward. That's
Mhm.
really all we want here is for you guys to know some basic travel safety tips and just put yourself in a situation where you're going to have a great trip and there's not going to be any issues because you know what you know. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So there you have it. Safety tips for traveling. Suitcase Divas.
Bye, guys.